How many clients can a literary agent actually handle? My name is Jean. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. This varies from one agent to another for a whole bunch of reasons. I'm going to give you some of those reasons so that you can maybe understand why you might see hugely different numbers from one agent to another. So the comment says, I thought that 15 to 20 clients would be a maximum, and that would be pushing it. And for some agents, that is pushing it. A literary agent helps their clients to negotiate deals with publishers. They are responsible for reading the manuscript, for helping to edit that manuscript sometimes, for getting it ready for submission, for putting together the submission package and the pitch materials, and then submitting it out to editors, following up on those submissions, making sure that when an offer comes in, that they negotiate the offer to the best advantageous deal for the author, that they are then negotiating pieces of the contract, managing deadlines, managing timeframes, managing expectations with the author. In between all of this, they have to maintain relationships with all of those editors so they know what type of books to send to those editors. They're not just like emailing stuff off blindly. They know these editors and they know what their taste is and what they're looking for. That is a full-time job. Now, there are a couple of different reasons why an agent might be able to handle this with 5 clients versus 15 versus 50. So if you have a bunch of, let's say, brand new clients, that these are all debut authors, or they maybe have one book out, but they're still really early in their career. So we are still fighting for every single contract. There is still kind of a lot of editorial work to get done. Every contract and offer that comes in from a publisher needs to be negotiated hard. There is a lot of work that needs to be done to help get an author's career up off the ground. Compare that to the other end of the spectrum, in which we maybe have someone like a Brandon Sanderson, for example. So he is going to get to keep publishing books. And the publisher will say that we want X number of books, and this is sort of the schedule that we want it on, and his agent is going to negotiate those contracts and negotiate those terms. And it's not always going to be just a done deal where every book gets submitted, but you do not have to fight for him to get that contract the same way. And someone like that has a team of people helping him edit the books ahead of time. The agent likely is not as heavily involved in the editorial process because this author has a brand, has a relationship with the editor that they are working with. They do not need the agent to be involved in that editorial work in the same way. Then let's also look at like a mid-career author where they've got a 4-book deal and they're going to be turning in 1 book every 2 years for the next 8 years. That's what the contract says that they are going to do. And they also have a relationship with their editor. The editor is taking the next couple of books basically on proposal, or they are part of a series. So the agent, again, isn't heavily involved in those edits. The contract is done on those, and that author is busy for the next 8 years. That agent does not have as much work to do with that client as they would with a brand new debut author selling their very first book. They also have a different workload than they would with someone like Brandon Sanderson, who is selling foreign rights and film rights and adaptations and all of these things and managing a bunch of different deadlines. You can see how the workload is different for these different clients. Somebody who is churning out serialized mystery or romances where they are turning in a new book every 6 to 8 months is going to be very different than someone who is writing graphic novels in which they are turning in a new manuscript every 2 to 3 years. And graphic novels don't have that much text, and the agent is not here editing your artwork. They are there for the story, and so their editorial lift is much lighter on something like a graphic novel, and there's a lot more work that happens in the author's hands, and the illustrator's hands, I should say, than there is in the agent's hands. If you have a lot of authors who sell really well in the United States, but they are selling genres that only sell well in the United States, these like serialized romances, crime thrillers, things that are pretty localized and involve a lot of American culture. And so these books aren't going to sell super well overseas. And so you are not managing a lot of foreign rights. You're not managing a lot of additional contracts because that's just not what these books are. Versus somebody who has written a book that appeals to a global audience and has translation rights, and those contracts are expiring every couple of years, and we're constantly negotiating and chasing down those payments from foreign markets, and we are processing 50 to 60 royalty statements on this one book every single year. You can see how the workload is very different depending on where these clients are in their career, what type of work they are writing on. Like, all of these different factors change the workload that that client requires. And a literary agent is their first and foremost responsibility is to their existing clients. And so they are going to make sure that they are able to serve those clients the best they can. You might also have a client who, like, let's look at Stephanie Meyer, who hasn't written anything new in a really long time, but those royalty statements just keep coming in. Those books keep selling. And so that agent needs to keep her on the roster so that those statements keep being paid out. But that agent's also not doing quite as much for an author like that. There's no new projects, there's no new tours. We're not doing as much stuff with that author, even though she is technically still on the roster. And then I'm sure you know people in your life who are just built different. They can work faster, they can work longer hours, they found the thing that they're really good at, and so they're able to do that thing a lot faster than everybody else around them. Agents are the same way. Some of them work very quickly and very efficiently. Some of them are more slow and careful and deliberate. And these are two different work styles. Neither one is wrong. They are just a personality, and that's just the way that they do their work. With all of those factors in mind, how many clients can a literary agent handle? I don't know. There's too many different factors. You are probably going to see some agents who have 5 or 6 clients and say, I'm all full. That's all I can handle. That my plate is full. This is my business. And you might also see other agents who have 50, 60, 70 clients. I have no idea what the upper limit on this would be, but because they've got somebody managing royalty statements for them, and they've got somebody who's managing contracts for them, and they've got somebody who's managing rights for them, then they've got a lot of authors who are late in their careers and have established relationships with editors, so there's not a lot of editorial work. Like, you can see how the certain circumstances in your career could lead you to being able to have a very, very long roster of clients and still be giving them all the attention that they need. Because it's not about giving every single client the same type of attention and care. It's about giving each client the attention and care that they need and they deserve. And these literary agents are all going to handle that differently. So there's a different number for every single person out there.